Yo guys, VisionSGen here bringing you the full Emma Frost guide following the latest Season 2 update, breaking down all of her abilities, including her newly added team-up and addressing her strengths and weaknesses. This is episode 13 of my new Hero Series guides with all of the previous episodes on the channel, and on that note, let's get right into it. So with the release of Season 2, Emma Frost is a Vanguard or tank in this game, if you weren't already aware, with a unique kit that reflects her iconic telepathic powers and diamond form from the Marvel comics and the movies. She has an offensive burst Vanguard who can apply constant pressure to the enemy team and also great defensive capabilities. Emma Frost has a base health of 550 and a standard movement speed of 6 meters per second, which is pretty much the standard for all of the characters in the game. She actually has 650 as her actual health, as you can see in the gameplay on the screen. That is because she is an anchor hero in the newly added team-up, which is called Mind Link, which I'll discuss later in the guide, but that is the reason you can see 650 and is likely to change in a later update because this standard health could be seen as quite overpowered, and also the team-up itself could be deemed quite overpowered as well. Now, as for the abilities, like Cloak and Dagger, she actually has two forms. Her human form, which is focused on her psychic abilities, and her diamond form, which is geared towards durability and melee combat, making her a brawling tank with great range and also great crowd control capabilities. She actually has two primary attacks. In her human form, she has the telepathic pulse, which is a ranged hit scan ability, which definitely makes her stand out amongst other Vanguards who typically don't use hit scan mechanics in this game, which is really useful and cool to add into this game. Now, as for the damage of this primary, it's slightly confusing to understand at first, so allow me to just break it down and try and look at this in several different ways, because it actually took me quite a few attempts to read it through and then try it out to actually fully understand it personally. Now, the key to understanding this attack and the character in general is the energy aspect that she can build up. The energy is identified as a meter, just like with Doctor Strange with his Maelstrom ability. The higher the energy, the more damage output, and also the primary attack itself has a 70 ammo count, which is also a lot and helps when building up your meter. So, as an overview of the energy you gain and how you gain it, here is the following to understand. For any enemy or hero that you hit, you gain 10 energy per second. For any sentience that you hit, which is an ability, and I'll explain this shortly, you gain 15 per second. And for any shield that you hit, which is the same as any player you gain, which is 10 per second, which encourages you to basically target all of the shields as well as enemies, because it'll build the same way. And then as for the fall off of this ability, or the just general meter itself, the energy gained will begin to fall off after 3 seconds if you do not hit an enemy or a target at a rate of 30 energy per second. So as you can see, it might take a couple of attempts to understanding the energy aspect of this character, but once you do, this then translates to the actual damage output that the character could do. So the Psionic Beam deals the following damage, and remember, the damage increases with more energy that you gain and have, and the longer you are locking onto your target means the more damage you do. So initially, the attack deals 70 damage per second when you have 0 energy at all. Then up to 99 energy, you can deal up to 120 damage per second. So essentially, once you are locked on and constantly near full energy, you will be able to deal around 70% more damage than your initial output, of which is 70, up to 120 damage. So I appreciate that's quite a lot to go over and just understand. And then when you're at full energy, so 100%, you will deal 150 damage per second. So as you can see, it encourages you to stay in the action and constantly be dealing damage. And in my opinion, you will want to be going for those higher health targets such as Vanguards and tanks, as the damage increases the longer you are targeting an enemy. So she is going to be a literal tank destroyer in this new season. It has a 10-meter range, and the idea of her attacks is to build up your telepathic meter, known as the energy, and then maintain 100 energy wherever possible, which will increase your overall damage output. Now, as for the abilities, here is the following, and as I mentioned, she has two forms, so just bear that in mind. So with the L1 ability, known as the Psychic Spear, this is where you seize control of an energy sentience, which in theory, think of it like Strange's ultimate. It's similar in the sense that you extract the soul, or astral form when we're talking about Strange, but the sentience for Emma, and then you can deal damage to the sentience instead of the person, which any damage to this crystal-like form cascades to the physical form of the player and can be very powerful. And once the sentience shatters, which is a red crystal that you will see, it unleashes an extra damage blast on the actual sentience owner, the player that you pull it out of. So you deal 5 damage per direct hit, and as I mentioned, when the sentience shatters, you deal bonus damage to that target, which is equal to 25% of the target player's maximum health. It also has a range of 24 meters, so you can use this from quite far out, and it's very useful for entry into your team fights. And also for any sentience that you hit with your primary attack, you gain 15 energy per second, as I mentioned before. So you'll want to be targeting that first and using the ability early, so you can constantly keep using it. Now, as for the L2 ability, known as as the Mind's Aegis, which is effectively her shield and allows you to basically deploy a diamond levitating barrier. This barrier is a ranged shield and is a great ability as it provides another shielding tank in this game, but also a free form shield and placed on the ground or in the air to mitigate large amounts of damage with a 500 hit point shield, and blocks both aerial or ground-based damage from all sorts of heroes. So as you can see, this is a really useful ability, and you're not required to use the shield, therefore you can just basically place it next to another teammate to help them out, and then you can sort of help out in another area, or just use it in front of the entire team to block up to 500 health damage, and then also all of you can just utilize it to stay safe. The shield itself has a 3-second cooldown when you're trying to reposition it, and also a 4-second cooldown if it is destroyed. Now it is worth noting, the longer you hold down the ability button, the further you can place this actual shield itself, which is really useful, and the second you release it is when you can place the shield, or you can just instant cast it and it'll place it wherever you're looking up to 5 meters away. So as for the second side of this ability or this character, known as her diamond form, this lasts for 8 seconds and provides her with a 30% overall damage reduction and allows you to access more of her abilities, just like with Cloak and Dagger as I mentioned. Her primary attack, her second primary attack, known as the Faceted Fury, which is her brawling mode and delivers a double-fisted strike to enemies with the kicking ability and the slam. The L1 ability, known as the Carbon Crush, allows you to lunge forward, grab an enemy, and then execute a back or body slam to deal 30 damage. It's more of an aesthetic thing and just really cool, but also for crowd control and stunning effects. This ability has a cooldown of 5 seconds and a maximum distance of 7 meters, indicating how this form is suited for close range combat and brawling in general. Now, as for the L2 ability, known as the Crystal Kick, when you're in this diamond form, you unleash a flying kick forward and knocks back enemies that deals extra damage if they are hit into a wall. So the initial damage is 50 and the damage increases to 100 when the target is knocked into a wall. It has a 2-second cooldown, so you can use it multiple times in diamond form, and has a 5-meter hit range. This is a really cool ability and knocks them back up to 10 meters away. Now, as for the team ability, known as Mind Link, which as the anchor hero, she forms a mental link with Magneto and Psylocke, the newly added team up, to create projections and illusions, effectively allowing her to project it as an extra hero of both Psylocke and Magneto, which is insane, making them far more greater and also just going to be better for them in the meta that we're currently going to be playing in Season 2. They are able to cast abilities of their own and able to deal damage of their own, which shows you how overpowered this ability can be and probably will be, which we'll find out in the new season. Now, as for the highly anticipated ultimate ability, known as Psionic Seduction, where she projects psychic boxes forward, which stuns enemies and prevents them from using their own ultimate abilities, which is also insane as it effectively has no counter, which is able to stop this ability, and the longer the ultimate affects the enemy, the more they are impacted, meaning Emma Frost can pull enemies to her the longer the ultimate is in use, and therefore can be very powerful for crowd control and point pressure, as well as coordination with other team ultimates. So in summary, Emma Frost is a badass and going to rock the ship in this new meta, probably going to be the most used Vanguard for sure, and with the new team up, we're likely to keep seeing Magneto and Psylocke being used. But there you have it guys, that's the full guide for Emma Frost. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you have any suggestions, tips and tricks, or cool clips that you want to share, let me know down below in the comments. I'm Visionist Jen, and I'll see you in the next one.